She said, "My babies are dying. They're dead." Which hey guys, I'm going to read through the written statement that Darlie Routier made on June 8th of 1996. This would have been 2 days after two of her children were murdered, who she claimed at the time was an intruder, as they slept on the floor in the main floor family room within just inches of where Darlie was sleeping on the sofa. She had 911 at, I think it was 2:01 a.m., claiming that the intruder had just walked through the garage and that her babies were dying. She said, "My babies are dying. They're dead," which is very unusual for a parent to so readily admit that her children were dying. Typically, when a parent is dialing 911 for help for one of their children, they refuse to believe that their children are dying. Instead, they say things like, "Hurry, get here now. Hurry, hurry," and they're frantic. In Darlie's case, even after the police had arrived, she was asking the dispatcher when they would get there. I know, right? So I pulled up her statement, and I'm going to read it. June 8th of 1996 at 4:49 p.m. She wrote this statement at the Police Department, RPD. And it says, "Darren and I," oops, I'll start over. "Darren and my sister If I read it myself instead of trying to play that video, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me now? If not, I've received a couple of error messages when I try to post comments in the chat, and it says to check my internet connection. And my internet connection is connected. Oh, good. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and go to Darlie Routier's written statement, and I'll go ahead and read it. It's kind of hard to read her writing sometimes, so I might kind of stammer my way through. Oops, where is it? It's here somewhere. Let's see, I'll find it. Here it is, I found it. Okay, this is the police statement that Darlie Routier wrote by hand on June 8th of 1996. That was 2 days after poor little Devon and Damon Routier were brutally murdered in what should have been the safety of their own home. Darlie was at the Rowlett Police Department, and she had forms that she was writing on. They were lined forms, and on the top of each form, or is it just on the top of the first one? Nope, it's on the top of each form. I want to read what it says. "The person to whom I make this written statement has warned me that I have the right to have a lawyer present to advise me prior to and during any questioning. If I am unable to employ a lawyer, I have the right to have a lawyer appointed to me to advise me prior to and during any questioning. I have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all, etc., etc., etc." And the reason I point that out is because through the years, and I'm talking many years, Oftentimes, her supporters will say they never read her the Miranda warning. Really? Because it looks to me like every single sheet of this written statement that Darlie wrote had it printed right at the top. Come on. So on June 8th of 1996 at 4:49 p.m., Darlie sat down at the police department and proceeded to write. She actually had been there for quite a while already, answering questions. And then they asked her if she would go ahead and make a written statement, and she said, sure. So this is Darlie Routier's written statement. Again, written just 2 days after 2 of her 3 children were brutally murdered in what should have been the safety of their home. This is what Darlie wrote. Darren and my sister Dana came home from working at the shop. The boys were playing with the neighborhood kids outside. I was finishing up dinner. Damon came home and Devon called, and I told him to be home soon because we were going to eat. Darren played with the baby, Drake, with Dana, while I pulled everything together to eat. Devon came home, and we all ate dinner together. After we ate, we cleaned all the plates. I was changing Drake while Darren got everything in some containers. Hold on, I'm scrolling. Well, Darren got everything into some containers for leftovers. We all talked a little about how happy we were that the shop had been so busy for the past 3 weeks, and that we hoped it would continue since work had been slow for a couple of months. Devon and Damon asked if they could play with one of their friends a little longer, so we said okay. Darren, Dana, and I just sat around and watched a little TV. Later, I'm not sure of the exact time, I asked Darren to drive Dana, my sister, home because I wasn't feeling too well. I'm going to interrupt this reading for a second to say a couple of things. This is interesting because through the years, we've also heard that she was working in the garage that evening on a yard sale that she was having. And we've also heard that her sister actually around 9 or 9:30 said that she wanted to leave. She wanted to go to her boyfriend's apartment. And I think what was said was that her boyfriend wasn't answering his phone and she didn't want him to be worried about her. So she wanted Darren to take her to her boyfriend's apartment at like 9 or 9:30 at night. So I think it's interesting that Darlie wrote in her statement that they hung around. She never mentioned anything about working out in the garage, getting ready for a yard sale in this written statement. And she also said that she wanted her sister to go because she wasn't feeling too well. So that's interesting. I think very interesting. So the statement continues. I asked Darren to drive Dana, my sister, home because I wasn't feeling too well. While Darren was gone, the boys brought down their blankets and pillows and asked if they could watch TV. I said yes. They came downstairs and played on the floor in front of the TV with Drake while I made some popcorn. About 20 or 25 minutes later, Darren came in and sat down with us while we watched TV. Drake started to get fussy, so I made him a bottle, and I believe Darren fed him the bottle. Soon after the boys both fell asleep, Darren took the baby upstairs and put him in his crib and came back downstairs. We talked about a few problems we were having with the car and the boat and had a few words between us. Since I had the baby, I have been having some depression. I told Darren I was depressed because I hadn't been able to take the boys anywhere because we only had one car. I'll just interject here. Darren had a Jag that was in the shop for repairs, so he was driving Darlie's car, so she was stuck at home without a car. I'll keep reading. He told me he loved me and asked me if I wanted him to sleep downstairs with me because I wanted to stay up a little and watch TV. I told him no because I didn't think he would be able to sleep on the couch and get any sleep. Another thing that's interesting, you guys, is through the years, people have often asked, what was she watching on television? What shows were the boys watching on television before they fell asleep? What was the last show she was watching? And so far, we are told she doesn't remember. I'll keep reading. I had been sleeping on the couch the last week or so, off and on, because the baby slept in our room in the crib, and when he moved, he woke me up. Now, isn't that interesting? Remember, Devon and Damon were laying on the floor right in front of the television, just inches away from where Darlie was sleeping on the sofa. Inches away. And they were brutally murdered, and she slept through that? But she claims that she was sleeping on the couch because having the baby's crib in the master bedroom meant that when the baby moved around in his crib, that would disturb her sleep because, you know, Darlie Routier's a light sleeper and all. Well, if she's such a light sleeper, then why didn't she wake up, right? I mean, come on. I think that kind of shows, well, I think the jurors probably figured, yeah, right. Light sleeper? I don't think so. Or maybe she is, and if she is, why didn't she wake up? Well, I think we all know the answer, right? I'll continue reading. Darren and I laid together for a little while and then decided to go to sleep because he had work the next day. This was around 12:30 or 1, I'm not sure. He kissed me and said he loved me, and I told him I loved him and would see him in the morning. Okay, I'm going to interrupt this reading again to say this. Why on earth is she putting that in a police statement? This is the second time now that she's trying to tell the police that Darren told her that he loved her, while also telling the police that they had words between them. You know what I'm saying? I'll keep reading. After a while, I started to get sleepy. The next thing, I woke up and felt a pressure on me. I felt Damon press on my right shoulder and heard him cry. This made me really come awake and realized there was a man standing down at my feet, walking away from me. I walked after him and heard glass breaking. I got halfway through the kitchen and turned back around to run and turn on the light. I ran back towards the utility room and realized there was a big white-handled knife laying on the floor. It was then that I realized I had blood all over me. And I grabbed the knife thinking he was in the garage. I looked over and saw the door shut to the garage, so I thought he might still be in there. And it looks like it says, and I yelled to get Darren, but I'm not sure if that word is yelled. I can't tell by her writing. I ran back through the kitchen and realized The entire living area had blood all over everything. I put the knife on the counter and ran into the entrance, turned on a light, and started screaming for Darren. I think I screamed twice, and he ran out of the bedroom with his jeans on and no glasses and was yelling, "What is it? What is it?" I remember saying, "He cut them. He tried to kill me." I can't see what these next two words are. Something, something. He ran down the stairs and into the room where the boys were. I grabbed the phone and called 911. Darren started giving Devon CPR while I put a towel on my neck and a towel over Damon's back. I remember telling Damon to hang on. Mommy was there. I looked over at Darren and saw the glass table had been knocked halfway off, and the flower arrangement had been knocked over. I then stood up and turned around and saw glass all over the kitchen floor. I tried to glance over to see if anything was out of place or if anything was missing. I took a few steps and glanced at the door and screamed for blank. I think that's the neighbor. I think it's a name was written there, but it was blacked off. It was redacted. I think that was the neighbor's name. I'll keep reading. I was still on the phone with 911, and I don't recall what all was said because everything was happening so fast. I went back to Damon, and by then he had stopped moving, and the police walked through the door. The paramedics came and tried to work on the children. Darren was screaming, "Who did this? Who did this?" And I started asking if my babies were dead. Darren was crying and said yes. After that, I just remember screaming and something Darren, but I don't know what the word is. Oh, and showing Darren my neck. I'll say that again. After that, I just remember screaming and showing Darren my neck. Darren took me out to the front of the house, and by then, Darren ran upstairs to make sure the baby was okay. He showed me Drake was okay, and then handed him to blank. Again, I think that was the neighbor's name that was redacted. Oh, yep. It says, and handed him to blank, and then it says, our neighbor. I remember them holding a towel on my neck and something my arm, and then they put me in the ambulance. Darren got in, but they told him he needed to leave so they could take care of me. I remember get to the hospital and then them telling me they were taking me to surgery. They took off my necklace and put me to sleep. I woke up, and minutes later, the detectives were there asking me all kinds of questions. That concludes the written statement of Darlie Routier, made on June 8th of 1996. Isn't that interesting? I think it's incredibly interesting. I think it's interesting how she said that they had words between them. Hi, Tennyson. This is the case of Darlie Routier. Darlie Routier is sitting on death row in a Texas prison after being convicted in, I think it was February of 1997, stemming from the tragedy that occurred on June 6th of 1996 in their home in Rowlett, Texas, when poor little Devon and Damon Routier both were murdered. But she wasn't convicted of murdering Devon. They tried her for the murder of Damon, who was 5 years old at that time. And she was convicted of murdering Damon and sent to death row, like I said. Smile has questions. Well, this will be interesting, whoever Smile is. Okay, I see the last one, but let me see the first one. Here it is. I promised Missmensa on here that I would join her Darlie Patreon. If MM doesn't see my comment, could you please tell her, ask her to look out for me? I have questions. That's cute. Okay, I'm here now, Smile. Go ahead with your questions. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. We'll see you on Patreon. That's fine. The whole thing about how Darlie said in her plea statement that they had words between them, I think that's really interesting, especially when in the same police statement she's going, oh, yeah, he told me he loved me. Yeah, he told me he loved me. I told him I love him too. What? 2 days after your children were brutally murdered, supposedly by some random intruder? And you're writing in your plea statement, yeah, he told me he loves me. And I told him I love him too. Really? I don't know, maybe it was the drugs, maybe? And I don't mean illegal drugs, but maybe she had some pretty good sedatives going on at the time. You know what I'm saying? Three of a Kind says, I literally just rescued a little mouse just an hour ago and a frog last night. He'd hopped into the local co-op, so I took him down to the river. Three of a Kind, you're a lot nicer than I am. I wouldn't call catching a mouse rescuing a mouse. Ooh, icky. Wash your hands, scrub your hands. Gross. The frog, yeah, frogs are cute. Mice aren't cute, though. Well, maybe they're cute in a picture, but chipmunks are cuter. Star Mama says, I really hope she gets her sentence changed. She needs life in prison, not the death penalty. I don't like the death penalty at all. Not at all. But you know what else I don't like is gender bias. Because I think if she was a man, I think they would have executed her about 20 years ago. And that's not fair to the men out there. I think it would help if she would tell everything that she knows, right? I think it would help if she would maybe tell the truth. I think she would get a lot more support that way. Ray has a child who is hooked on fluoride. Be careful of that, Ray. Welsh says chinchillas and sugar gliders are cute too. You guys are silly tonight, aren't you? Ooh, Samantha's on full lockdown. How come? Welsh is thanking you guys for keeping her sane. I do think it would be good for her to have the life sentence. I think at the time of her conviction, I don't think the life sentence was available. I think that's why she was given the death penalty. You guys are funny with your frogs. How are you with turtles? We went to a wedding out further in the Midwest. Where was that? Missouri, I think? I think it was in Missouri. I have never seen turtles so big as what I was seeing driving to that wedding in Missouri. I mean, they were monster turtles, huge, in the road, one right after another. I couldn't believe it. Paula says, I wonder if she'll ever be executed. I don't know. Take a look at this issue for a second. Look at all of the support she has. Look at how many people on social media are saying, oh, she's innocent. She's innocent. Look at all the documentaries. Oh, could it be she's innocent? If you have any doubt about whether or not she's guilty, just get your hands on the transcripts from that trial. And I don't think you're going to have any doubt. I think it was the mother-in-law, I'm not sure, who said, I think it was Cirilda, who said that the jurors got it wrong. I think the jurors got it right. And I think all you have to do is read those trial transcripts, and I think you'll agree. There were so many details about the case of Darlie Routier that I was thinking anytime I'd hear any new details about the case of Christopher Watts, I'd be like, oh, wait a minute. That seems very similar to the case of Darlie Routier. They had money problems. They were living beyond their means. Mama liked to shop. You know what I'm saying? Mama liked to spend. In fact, Darlie was known as Shop Till She Drops Darlie. And I'll say this, she was known affectionately as Shop Till She Drops Darlie. Darlie did take care of the books. They actually did make a ton of money. They made really good money. And Darlie worked hard. And so did Darren. Darren worked very hard. So in those ways, I don't think the two cases are similar at all. But Darlie was experiencing some issues. And when her friends encouraged her to seek help, she said that she didn't think it would look good in the custody battle down the road. She was concerned her mother-in-law, Cirilda, would be getting custody of the children. Custody battle down the road? Tennyson wants to know how old Darlie was. I think she was 27. I think she was 27 years old at the time. Paula says, oops, it scrolled up faster than, here we go. Paula says, I think the jurors got it right too. I don't believe she's innocent. I think she'll never admit she snapped that night and reveal the truth, ever. According to her good friend who called me in January of 2016, a couple of times, we had a couple of very lengthy conversations. According to her, Darlie admitted to her that she did it. And she said she doesn't really know what happened, but yeah, she did it. She didn't understand what all or why. If you want to get hooked on a true crime case, the case of Darlie Routier is a good one to get hooked onto. Seriously. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of good evidence to see. There are, of course, the trial transcripts. I have the Facebook group called the Darlie Routier Case Discussion Group, and you guys are all welcome to join. And I have a library there under the tab that says Files, where you can access a lot of the information about this case if you want to read about it. Yes, Paula, yes. I believe that's fine now. I think that was a few years ago. And from what I hear, he's doing very well and is healthy. But a few years ago, they did have a few fundraisers going. I think there was a fundraiser too to help him get his first car, so that was pretty cool. I'll go ahead and post the link for the Facebook group. It's the Darlie Routier case discussion, I think is the name of it, but I'll go to it and post the link to it. Let's see here. How do I get there? Because this thing that I just read you was actually from that group. I pulled it up from our little library. Okay, where are you? Oops, that's not it. That's not it. ¿Dónde está the Darlie Routier group? Here it is. I found it. It's circling. It'll take just a minute. Okay, so I'll hit home. Oh, it is a private group, so you wouldn't be able to find it. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I put a lot of things on private when all those stupid hackers started in. So let's see here. I think this link will get you there. I'm not sure. Let's try this. Uh-oh, where are you? There you are. Okay, paste. Okay, somebody, would you please try that link and see if it takes you to the group? That's a good case, Lilibeth. The Stephanie, is it pronounced Lazarus case? Oh my goodness. That's a really interesting case to talk about, isn't it? That's the one where the victim's husband actually kept doinking an ex-girlfriend from college. The ex-girlfriend was Stephanie Lazarus. And evidently, Stephanie went to the victim's job. She was an administrator at the hospital. She was very highly respected. She had a really good career as a nurse. And Stephanie went right up to the hospital and was like trying to intimidate her and stuff. Stephanie was a cop. And shortly after, you know, the ex-lover boy, who wasn't all that ex, married the victim was murdered in their home. Tragically, I think she was beaten, and Stephanie Lazarus even bit her. And it turned out, I think, that bite mark is what helped them zero in on who actually killed the victim. You know what really irritates me about that case is that at the time of the murder, her parents were very clearly telling the police that there was some weird woman, right? And instead, the police thought it was like people trying to steal things, okay? Like, you know, people breaking in or whatever because they had other cases in the neighborhood, evidently. So they just, I won't say they blew it off. I'm sure that it was a terrible experience for all the investigators and everything. I'm sure they did their best, but the victim's parents knew about that weird woman. And it just seems really strange that that weird woman was able to go on for years and get promoted, you know, as a detective. And then, you know, thankfully for the whole DNA thing and everything, right? Otherwise, she would have been getting away with murder. So, was it 27 years? I wasn't sure, Lilibet. Thanks. Oh, good. Star Mama says the link works. Excelente. Okay, then I'm going to click back to that tab. Okay, here we go. And I will hit approve. Okay. So I just added you guys who signed up. I just added you to the group. So hopefully it worked. I am so tech savvy, aren't I? So take a look and see if you got accepted. Are you guys talking about the Lazarus case? That was so weird. So weird. But wasn't it really cool when they brought her in for questioning and they said that they wanted to talk with her about a different case because she was like the art dealer. She was like a special detective for really expensive artwork, right? Like cream de la crop position, I'm sure. And wherever it was that they were meeting with her, it was routine for any of the officers or detectives to leave their firearms at the door. So that's pretty, smart the way they did that. And if you listen to that interview, she's like, I'm offended. Are you suggesting? Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. It's like, yeah, murderer. Yeah, they might be suggesting. All right, Star Mama got approved. Woohoo! Ray says, I have a weird name. You're funny, Ray. All right. Yeah, we'll go ahead and build that group again because 3 years ago when the attack started, that was one of the groups they were working so hard to try to tear down. So it's been pretty quiet there. We had a good thing going there for years. Anytime I do an essay, I always give it to the people in the group for free. I post it with a private link and stuff. And we had some really good discussions going, but when the attack started, everyone kind of hunkered down and, And then for a while, I couldn't even access it. It was pretty bad. I'm just scrolling up and looking. Lilibet says he actually only was with SL at the end of their relationship, a mercy boink. But he was with her after he was engaged. He was with her after he was engaged. I'm sorry. That is so bad. So bad. And bad on Stephanie Lazarus, too, for Pete's sake. You know what I mean? Like, she was that hooked on him? Could you explain what's up with DB thing? Can't figure it out. What do you mean? Sharon says, I'm eating cheese puffs in bed. Bad time to be eating. Exactly, Lilibet. They were F buddies, and that's just so sad. Welsh says, I got a visitor. LOL, lots of love feeding them now. Oh, I don't know, Lilibet. What's going on with DB? I'm out of the loop. Samantha said she never tried to comfort them when they were dying. If you guys don't know it yet, I'll tell you. I've been doxxed so much, I figure you guys know it. But years ago, I was a police dispatcher. And I can tell you that when children are in need of an ambulance, parents do not quickly or ever get to the point of saying they're dead. They don't do it. No matter how dead their child might be, they will not accept it at all on the 911 call. They just don't. They say things like, get here now. Oh my God, get here now. And hurry, hurry, hurry. Because no matter what, they want help to be there to make sure their child lives. Darlie Routier, she was right on the 911 call saying, oh my gosh, my babies are dying. They're dead. That is so unusual. That is way unusual for a parent to accept that. And then we were told by a nurse, well, we weren't told, but it came out at trial, that when the nurse wheeled Darlie past the room at the hospital where the doctors were frantically trying to revive little Damon, that she was kind of worried, because it might be really upsetting for Darlie to be wheeled past the room that poor little Damon was in. And the nurse said that Darlie never asked at all how the boys were, never asked any questions about Drake or Devon, didn't want to, claw her way into the room to hold her baby, right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Uh-uh. And yes, Sharon, that silly string party was weird. Her supporters will say, oh, they had a memorial service that morning, a solemn memorial service. Really? Because the only little clip that we've ever seen of that solemn memorial service shows the small group of people standing there saying a prayer or being led in prayer, while Darlie looked around, stared, plopped on the ground, looked around some more. She wasn't even praying. And, I'm not saying you have to pray or whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to make any kind of whatever, right? And okay, she just lost 2 of her babies. She can be weird. That's her right. But I don't get this whole, it was a solemn memorial service when the only clip they've released to the public shows her sitting there acting like, what are we doing? Come on. And then that silly string part, oh, she was chomping her gum, as one juror so eloquently put it on the Lisa Gibbons show. She was smiling, laughing, and she was chomping her gum. I don't think she was convicted at all because of the silly string party, but I do think that the silly string party did serve to pique the interest of the prosecutor, who said that he saw it on television, and he picked up the phone and called the lead detective and said, tell me again what her story is. And according to the prosecutor, her story had changed a couple, 3 times at least. And they brought her in for further questioning. And it was evidently during that last little questioning that the detective said that when he accused her of killing the children, she said, well, if I did, I don't remember it. Now, I think that answer is pretty incriminating, if you ask me. He said that she would shrug her shoulders and say, well, if I did it, I don't remember it. Oh, those are cute names. Kangas, Snorter, and Pinky. Cute names. I can only imagine what you're talking about. Do you guys name your plants? I do. I just thought I'd throw that little tidbit out there. Oh my goodness, Star Mama. I had no idea. Oh, they're cats. Okay. You're a cat lady. Those are cute names, aren't they? 3. Star Mama, I had no idea. No idea. Exactly. You had to be told. And even being told, you probably were like, no, do something. Do something now. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That is so tragic. I'm so sorry. What was your baby girl's name, Star Mama? Welsh says that she's the crazy cat lady on her street. Tennyson says, I had a hard enough time naming my kids. Ray doesn't name her plants. I know it now. We're all like lovingly hovering over Paula right now. Sorry, Paula, but we are like, oh my gosh. You've been through too much, Lovey, too much. Welsh just picked a name for her baby girl. Aw. 44 days. Whew. Yes, life is cruel. That is so tragic. Okay. Samantha says, I've rescued dogs, cats, mice, hedgehogs. I had 2 house trained and using cat litter tray. LOL, lots of love. Heidi Willow. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. When I think of the name Heidi, I think of pigtails. Exactly, Star Mama. You scream, you beg, and you plead. Amy Beth. Oh, what a beautiful name. What a beautiful name. And I bet she was a beautiful little baby girl, just like her mama. Amy Beth. That's precious. That is a precious name. Sharon says, my cats are Little Bit and Dash. Ray says, Little Angel. Sharon Ann says, Amy Beth is lovely. Welsh says, Star, that's so heartbreaking. Sending you love and hugs. Pink Ladybug says, beautiful name. Brooke says, no matter how young they are, we bond with them. So sorry, Star Mama. Sharon says, beautiful name. Star Mama says, thanks, everyone. I try to help others who go through this loss. Star Mama, I just thought of something. Right from the start with the case of Christopher Watts, you have just been absolutely on fire for the whole photo op issue, those blankets and pillows and the Benadryl and the Tylenol, and even just poor little Bella, right? Hungry and wanting some food, and her mother says, oh, you want a laptop? Plus, you have a house full of kids, right? Well, you have a heart full of kids. because your kids are big people now. Isn't it weird when our purposes in life are all grown up? Welsh says, Star, that's so brave. God bless you. That love that you guys are talking about while you're pregnant, just wait until your babies are born. You just wait, Welsh. 44 days from now, you're just gonna know what love is. Star Mama says, I love the name Heidi Willow. I do too. Although I think of pigtails. So I think you need to put pigtails in her hair as soon as you can, Welsh. Sharon says, when my sister died, I remember talking to my mom and her saying to me, I will never get over this. Sharon, I don't think we're supposed to. Yes, Three of a Kind says, Heidi is a beautiful, timeless name. It is. I still think of pigtails, though I don't know why. Welsh says, oh, I can't wait until she's in my arms. My sis said she can't describe it. I'll send you pics when she's here, Yay! I love baby pics. I don't know what Samantha's saying. I'm you in a few months. Ray, my little one just turned 2. Step first, Oasis River. Yes, blonde hair, blonde pigtails. Sharon says, oh, the smell of newborn babies. And the skin. Oh, the skin is so soft. And not just any pigtails, Welsh. You know, those really thick ones that kind of stick out. And I don't mean like a Pebbles do like Cece and Bella. I mean like thick hair with thick braids. And then you're going to start singing, like you're going to be running through the meadows and singing like Julie Andrews. There must have been a Heidi in that movie. I don't know. Well, I have good news, you guys. It looks like dinner's almost ready. I had chicken baking in the oven when I clicked on here. I was actually going to play that video and just throw it up there. But when the video wouldn't cooperate and I started talking, I should have known better, right? So I better go save the chicken before it's way too done. Yeah, I'm not sure, Suze. I'm not sure. For some reason, I'm thinking of the Julie Andrews movie. I don't know. Maybe she'll start yodeling when she's 2. Yeah, I think I'm in the wrong country. Thank you, Sharon. I don't necessarily agree because I'm kind of like jumping on here and jumping right off. But you guys all have a great night. Hugs to all of you. Paula, a big hug for you, honey. I had no idea. No idea. Star Mama says, I had 6. She was my 4th. 16 grands? Oh my goodness, 13 great? Woof! God has been good to me. Yes, the Watts case was heartbreaking for me. It all makes sense, Star Mama. It all makes sense. Welsh says, thank you, for the live hugs to chat. Sharon says, stay safe, and everyone in chat. Okay, let's go ahead and say goodnight, John Boy. Do you like how I changed my voice like that? Good night, John Boy. There we go. And we'll do this again. I'll say soon, probably next weekend or this coming weekend or whatever. Have a good week, everyone. Ocean Rivera for a girl. Wow. That's a cool name. Very cool. Ray says, good vibes. Three of a Kind says, good night, MM. Good night, chat. Sharon says, loved having 2 lives in 2 days. UK friendly. Okay, everyone. Time for chicken dinner. Good night.